Okay, now today we will start talking about chapter 2. We will start to teach chapter 2, the atmosphere. So firstly, we need to learn how to classify matters. So first, an element, we have learned about element before, but I here introduce again, talk about this element again. So element is a substance that cannot be broken down into anything simple by chemical reaction. So, for example, for oxygen is an element, so it cannot be broken down into anything simpler. So, for element, each make up of only one kind of atom. So let me show you some example. For oxygen, so it is O2. So O2. So only one kind of atom, only oxygen atom inside. For silicon is Si, aluminum Al, and then calcium is Ca. So for the symbol, they are is the chemical symbol of it, and only one kind of atoms are present inside element. So let me give you some more example of elements. So we have N2, Cl2, the chlorine also called an element. So only one kind of atom present inside the element. So there are 112 elements. So the number are increasing because chemists keep finding some new elements. So you need not to remember the number here, okay? So some of them are man-made. So man-made means we make this element not naturally occurring. So what you need to remember here is you may need to remember. So for in nature, oxygen is the most abundant one. Okay, oxygen is the most abundant one. And also I want you to remember the most abundant metal in nature is aluminum. Okay, so aluminum is a metal. Okay, let's go move on here. So here are some pictures of some elements. So magnesium like this, sulfur is a yellow powder, and then zinc is a gray powder. So we have a periodic table of elements that you guys have come across periodic table before. So then compounds. So what is compound? Compound is a pure substance which consists of two or more elements chemically combined together. So some example of compounds are sodium chloride. So for sodium chloride, it composed of sodium and chlorine element. They chemically combine together and it is called a compound. And then we have sugar. Sugar is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen combined together. And calcium carbonate, so calcium, carbon, and oxygen. So ATE means with oxygen, okay? So this ATE suffix means it composed of oxygen too. Sodium carbonate, sodium carbon, and oxygen. So these are the uses of the compound. For example, sodium compound, sodium chloride is favoring the salt, and sugar also favoring, and calcium carbonate is for construction, and sodium carbonate is a washing shoulder. It's the washing shoulder. Okay, so here are some examples of the formula of the elements. So for the formula we have learned in chapter 8 and also chapter 7, so about different compounds formula. So here also summarize what are the elements inside these formulas, these compound. Okay, and for the formation of compound, so a compound is formed from its element. When compound is formed, energy is usually given out when it formed. Sometimes it is taken in, but always energy is involved, alright? So usually is given out. So energy is released. Okay. So chemical energies is changed to heat and light energies when compound is formed. Example is a mixture of iron and sulfur. When iron and sulfur is heated, the energy is released and iron 2 sulfide is formed. So for this equation is iron plus sulfur will give iron 2 sulfide. And for the equations, so for this equation, remember we need to use an arrow to represent, because this iron plus sulfur change into iron 2 sulfide.